Right. So just make yourself comfortable in the chair. If you can, without straining in your back or shoulders, just a little bit forwards and just tilt forward so that some of your weight goes into your feet. And just try and feel that you're supported by, obviously, by your chair, by your hips sitting on the chair, by your feet on the floor. And with the weight of your upper body sort of coming into a square. If you think of a square formed by your feet and your hips. And just rubbing your hands together. Tapping over your face. Just covering as much of your face as you can do so comfortably. Nice light movement. And then working up over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder and your arm. The other side. Upper part of your chest. Your belly. And finally your legs. And then just sit back in your chair, feet out in front, so you go into this reclining position. Take a couple of slow, gentle breaths, if that's helpful for you. You get a sense of kind of melting into the chair. Start by paying particular attention to those parts of your body in direct contact with the chair. You might need to shuffle around a bit to get comfortable, to get a feeling of them sinking into the chair. So it's interesting that if you're sitting in a hard chair, then unlike sitting back in, say, a soft chair, which would give, you want to try and get that sense of give slightly in your body. And we often find that when we do this, that feeling sort of spreads through the rest of the body. Just aware of the kind of outcome of that, how it feels in your chest, your shoulders, your belly. Maybe again, if it's comfortable for you, you need to notice a change in your breathing and so on and so forth. There's many areas that feel a bit stiff and tight, and those are areas to work very gently with. And now coming to the more upright position and looking for the same qualities as much as possible. Obviously, you don't have the same sort of support for your upper body from the chair, but we can feel the support hopefully from feet, legs, hips. And maybe just aware of a kind of sense of support from within. And again, you might need to sort of move around a bit, finding the correct position, always remembering that you're not stuck in this position for the rest of the class. And there might come a point a little bit later where you're needing to move around a bit. We're sitting for a while. And as always, whatever we say about what we want our posture to be, we should regard them as aspirations, as things that we're moving towards rather than things that we have to get right now. Just make sure you're comfortable as you do this so that your body has time to adjust. Say, for instance, maybe the muscles of your back need time to open up, to tone, and so on and so forth. And then trying to retain that feeling as you begin to turn your head. Just turning gently from side to side. Stopping before you feel that it's gone tight. So a bit like being polite at the dinner table. Remember, sort of trying to feel that you could have moved a little bit further. So looking to cultivate a nice smooth fluid quality to the movement. And then hands in front of your shoulders and just pushing your elbows around. Again, a smooth massaging quality to the movement. Going forwards. Now, hands down to your sides, out just a little bit and winding your arms around. Trying to get a sense of your arm rotating all the way down through its length. So it's very easy to sort of just find yourself moving your wrists. But if I exaggerate, if I stick my elbows out a little bit, this is too much really, but you can see that now my elbows are moving rather than just my hands. Again, hands up in front of you. So you're winding up silk thread. And back the other way. So in this position, the ideal would be about 2/3 of your weight in your hips, about 1/3 in your feet. But you can feel the bones perhaps at the base of your pelvis that you're sitting on, thinking of them as being like the blades of a rocking chair. Just let yourself tilt forwards a little bit. Don't go too far, and then coming back. Pushing your feet down into the floor, push yourself back, not straining in your neck. And you can see, I can go to about here. I can feel a pull in my back, but it's not uncomfortable. So if I go to here and then go to here, now I can feel my back tightening. And we want to avoid that tightening movement anywhere in the body as much as possible. And this helps us to maintain this sense of movement, this sense of flow. And then turn a little bit so your weight's going more towards one leg. That flow is not something that we struggle to produce. It's an outcome of our posture, maintaining our posture while in movement, and of learning to move correctly. But it remains an important element because it's connected to the movement within your body, the flow of energy, if you like to think of it like that. And then turn the other way. And then circling around. So the restoration of that flow within the body is a key element. It's a key principle in Chinese medicine. One of the terms sometimes used in Chinese medicine is that we can feel stagnant. And these movements can help to release that sense of being stagnant or being stuck. And that's true in both mind and body. We're trying to follow the movement in your attention. And then go back the other way. Coming back to the central position. Then pull one foot up, step out, plant the foot down and step back. We learn in Tai Chi to pay attention to very simple things quite often, like taking a step, but thinking about where the foot will go, thinking about just feeling the contact with the ground. And then try that with the other side. And feet back again. So, hands out to your sides again. So the same exercise that we were doing before, winding the arms around, but this time as we move the weight forward. So going forwards and then back. This is bird folds its wings. So it's quite a dynamic movement for our arms, but if you notice from here, basically my arms and hands are hanging directly from my shoulders. The reason my hands go forwards and backwards is because my shoulders are going forwards and backwards. The reason my shoulders are going forwards and backwards is the tilting of the pelvis and the movement of my weight from feet to hips and back. Very much a sense in which we're moving from the ground. Now, next time from the forward position, leave your hands facing back. As you come back now, just letting your arms swing behind your shoulders most of the time. As you arrive forwards, your arm will swing out a little bit and then you go back. I'm exaggerating this now. It's a very smooth movement. Again, with both hands, this is fisherman castanet. And just looking for a smooth flow of movement through your back and your spine, down through your arms into your wrists and your fingers. One more time. This time as you go forward, just imagine the ball here in your arms and your body so that as you go back, the hands just slide over the ball or maybe just roll the ball in. Whichever image suits you better. Trying to think in those terms rather than thinking that you have to lift your arms, feeling the pull from shoulders to fingertips. If you could feel the feeling of your skeleton supporting you from within, areas like your spine and your rib cage. You may also get a sense in which the movement is coming from that point. One more time, going forwards. As you come back, turn your hands palm in, let your elbows draw them apart, and then drawing your elbows in, pressing your hands together. Pigeon spread its wings. See if you're able to just get that sense of expansion and contraction through the whole of your rib cage, front of your body. And this time as you go back, your hands come in more in front of your hips, but your elbows still going out a little bit. Moving forwards, pushing wave. Now, with this one, I'm going to exaggerate slightly. As you go forward, your elbow comes in. Look at the shape of my arm. So as it gets pushed forwards, there's a natural curve up. Try not to lift your hands and then push. So you're trying to push from underneath, forwards and up. But the main intention is to push forwards. It's the shape of the arm that causes it to curve up. And again, the impetus, the energy coming from hips and legs, and a response to the pull of gravity. I think just hips sink into the chair before you push forward. Now turn your hands out, come back, fist your hands, a loose fist So you get your finger down and then push forward, winding your arms around. So you start off, your hands will be palm up if the fingers are open, and they slowly rotate as they push forwards to palm down. With this one, your elbows don't go out to your sides, but they do come in towards your hips, not behind your hips. So again, forgetting about my other hand for the moment, you can see the actual sort of independent movement from the part of your arm is from here to here. It's your body going forwards to the rest. So I would guess that from here to there, that's probably about a third of the total movement. Is all the arms are independently doing. So there should be no obvious reason why we would, for instance, want to strain in our shoulders. And then open your fingers. And this is more like doing the breaststroke. You go open again, opening the chest, trapped in the chest, and then, like we did a little bit earlier, pressing forwards, winding back. All the time, again, just trying to move in such a way where we retain some of that spacious quality in our bodies. Excuse me. Once more. Turn your hands palm down. Turn toward one side. Move forward, and again, a little bit of an extension through your arms. Swing round so your weight moves from one side of your body to the other, and then back to the center. Now draw your fingers around in a circle. Work the other way. Change direction. Move around. So feeling that the movement is directed through that center part of your body between hips and waist. This is called polishing the table. So I turn, I go forward. That angle of my elbow opens up a little bit. I come back, and it closes in. Just feel the extension through your back. Make sure that you're not stiffening up in your back. And if you are, make a slightly smaller movement. One more time on each side. Now turn your hands palm up. And a gentle push down through your feet and your hips. create a kind of upward movement through your body. So you're lifting a ball or a heavy box and then pressing down. And then with the same steady rhythm and pulse, turning your hands palm out, the wild goose. Try and feel that just before your arms start to expand outwards and upwards, there's a dropping down through your hips in particular, also through your feet, but mostly through your hips, or at least most accessibly through your hips. This is the wild goose. Once more. Easing forwards now as your hands come down so they can just slide in past, in front of your knees, I should say, back into your hips and sharpen down. So trying to increasingly feel the impetus, the strength, the energy for the movements in the upper part of your body as it sources in the lower part of your body and the ground beneath you. The slight gentle pressure through your feet as you push up. One more time. And now just letting your hands drop down, feeling the weight of your arms, and then pushing up, expanding on one side and pulling down. And then on the other side, pushing up, just dragon plucks the stars from the sky and down. Again, changing sides slowly, and only when you consider it appropriate. Do one more on each side. Final one. And then keeping the same rhythm, the same pulse in your body, bringing your hands around. So you're cradling the ball, and with the next expansion, the arms being pushed up and maybe just a little above your head. If it's uncomfortable to get your hands to that position, don't force it. Again, a nice steady rhythm, a nice steady pulse. One more round. This time, put one foot out on the hill, knees just a little bit bent, scooping the sea and looking at the sky. Again, very gently with your back. One of the few exercises where we do get a bit of a stretch, but you don't want to overdo that. And remember, having got down there, you want to be able to come back. And the way we do that is by letting the hips drop back in the chair, feeling the shoulders following, and finally our arms, rather than being forwards here and thinking, I've got to lift up. Now, this time let your hands drop down, roll them again into a hollow fist. But keep your hands down, turn them palm forwards. Once again, move your weight forwards. So what we have here is an exercise quite similar in some ways to bird folds its wings. The shoulders are going forward, weight stays mostly back, and your arms simply rotate. But feel what that's like in, say, your chest. As you come back, it's almost like your chest is doing this. That is very exaggerated. So there's a connection there between your hands and the chest. And because your head is going at this sort of upwards diagonal, that will tend to draw your hands up. And what we want to do is to get them up there and out there without straining in our back or our shoulders. Grasping the tiger's ears. So just letting your hands come to a comfortable height, no higher than your own two ears, so that if you're getting that far, you end up staring between your hands, staring into the tiger's eyes. Now, sit back, bring your feet parallel, and then step out to the other side. First of all, scooping the sea and looking at the sky. And then again, building up, grasping the tiger's ears, first of all with your arms hanging down, winding forwards. And whatever you notice in the chest or your back or shoulders here are things that, you know, if they feel useful, shall we say, the things you want to maintain as our hands start to rise just a little bit in response to our head going up. And as always, maybe into grasping the tiger's ears. One more time. And then just come back and sit again. Give yourself a few moments to remember and to feel that sense of being supported. Feet, legs, hips supporting your upper body. Your back supporting the front of your body. So try not to pull your belly in. Just notice if you have some kind of habit that invites you to straighten your chest. And then this image of the skeleton, not an image really, a skeleton supports you from within, leaving the soft tissue all around your body with this kind of soft elastic quality, a bit like a tent skin draped over its frame. And then once again, just rubbing your hands together. Tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder. The arm again. The other side. Upper part of the chest. Your belly. Front of your legs. Pushing your heels up. Trying to go to the feeling back into the muscles of your legs. Get the blood circulating there before we stand. And then round and circle. And back the other way. And back to the center. And then, if you wish, just standing carefully. You can use your chair, your wall for support at times, and that can be, I think, a very useful approach if you're going to try, especially if you're trying to do something new, that's an unusual exercise, or going just a little bit further with it, and to have that little bit of support, much as a ballet dancer might use the poles around the dance studio to investigate a particular movement. But remember, we don't have to do that all the time in Tai Chi. It's a good thing to do sometimes, but it's also nice just to think that you can do what you're familiar with without the feeling that I've got to advance this time. It doesn't work like that. And sometimes it's nice just to coast along. And you can still learn a lot, actually, in my experience, when you do that. So have your feet about hip width apart, directly below your hips, shoulders, and just rock your weight forwards and backwards. If we do this in the chair, but this time the pivot point is your ankles. But we're looking for that same fluidity of movement from front to back. And in this case, it's a much smaller movement in your feet, of course, because you're really taking your weight from just behind the ball of each foot to the front part of your heel. Go any further than that, so I can go forward, settle into the balls of my feet, and when I go a bit further, now I can feel gravity pulling me not down into my legs, but down into the floor. And of course, I'm going to tense up when I do that, or I'm going to move. And again, people, as you get used to this, and you've got a bit more experience, you may find that, for instance, you can go forwards. You say, well, I wouldn't mind getting a bit more movement here. I put my hand on the wall. I play around with this idea of softening and so on and so forth. I may get a little bit more movement, or I may just decide that today I don't want to do that. I just want to enjoy the movement. It's a bit like sometimes you go out for a walk, you can explore new areas, but doesn't mean you can't also benefit from the familiar. And in fact, quite often, we find out what is familiar isn't as familiar as we thought it was. And one of the things that we're looking for is, where is the ideal position for our weight in our feet? I said behind the ball of the foot is often seen as the traditional area, but where do we feel, for instance, if I get this pole, in theory, it's not going to happen because the bottom of the pole isn't even, the floor won't be. But in theory, there's a point between here and here where I could bring the pole to rest, and that's where we get the sort of maximum sense of not having to strain, to stiffen up in muscles and so on, simply to remain upright. And one thing we want to do, and again, as you get more used to this, we could go and spend a lot of time on this. I don't want to spend too long on it, but I'll exaggerate. If I go forwards and I've got that sense of my weight just behind the balls of my feet, I am actually leaning forward slightly. So eventually this will become quite, I would get tight in my shoulders or something like that. And what I do is I let my hips drop back, and there's a kind of releasing feeling. We call this sitting. We let our upper body sit into our hips. We let our hips sit into the ground. And like when we sit into a chair, there's that sense of releasing that begins to build. And from there, I sit and I just allow my hips to drop back a little bit more and then push up. And one of the aims here, and we touched on it in the chair, that sense of yielding allows my center of gravity to drop. And when I push up, I'm not lifting my center of gravity up, I'm pushing away from it. So we call it the root. And like a plant, when a plant grows up, the root doesn't come up with it. What it does, it grows out of the root, grows out of the seed. Bring your hands around as though you're cradling the ball. Push up. So the name of the exercise is rooting down, of course, and pressing down. So this is an ongoing project, developing this rooted posture. It gives us the stability, the foundation for the movements, and that allows for that more open posture and that sense of movement within the body. But it expands and contracts. One more time. So we want to try and maintain the sense of our hips dropping, to not get into a fight with the pull of gravity. Now, change your stance. Turn one foot out, step forwards with the other foot. You can see space between my legs. You can see the background there. So I'm keeping the width of the step. I'm not standing on a tightrope. Again, hips will drop down, and now just transferring your weight from one foot to another. So trying to find a way to move with that sense of root. It's a very simple idea, and yet it's a very difficult thing to achieve and to sustain. Again, it's a very important exercise, because it means we start to move, apart from anything else, we start to move with that real sense of stability. And always remember that this kind of detail, this kind of precision of movement and posture has a dual purpose. It's obviously good for the body, but it's also a way of really engaging our attention with the movement, which is also good for the body, of course. And it's one of the things in Tai Chi, the main thing, that focusing, that actually helps us to cultivate this very deep sense of calmness. Now, go into your back foot, raise your front toes, and you'll find a little bit more of your weight goes into the back foot. I like to have my foot slightly turned out. Here, the heel comes up. So more of your weight begins to settle. You're trying to align yourself over each leg. So I don't want to do, say, this, because now I'm toppling forwards. And then just eventually bringing your foot in and stepping out. And then on the other side, and then shake out. Change sides. So this is an everyday act, and yet there's a great deal going on with this. And I think for me, one of the lovely things about Tai Chi is the way you really begin to sort of investigate these everyday movements that we make. And these are the heart of the art. And one very practical outcome of that is that simple movements like this that are so essential for our mobility actually improve. But we could turn that around. You know, this is a way again of helping to generate a nice gathered, calm, quiet quality in ourselves. And so, you know, just standing at the kitchen sink, standing in the shop, and standing waiting for the bus. If we practice this, we can actually begin to find some of that calmness just in our daily activities. Raising your toes and your hips. And then again, stepping in. We also realize just how much is going on in the simple act of taking a step. Sometimes in some cases, we perhaps haven't given this any consideration since we were sort of like that high. And then see if you want, you can take a few steps through, either forwards or backwards. And then going back. Have your right foot forwards, so mirror my movements. Start with your weight in your back foot, push forwards with the standing version, the fisherman cast the net. Nice and smooth, nice and fluid. Not straining in your shoulders to move your arms, but moving as one unit. So it's your feet moving your hands, if you like. Just making a slight change. As you go back, turn to your left. So you draw your hands across your body. Notice the curve and your fingers describe, and just let that curve extend up no higher than the shoulder height, go forward, turn slightly so you draw your hands down in front towards the hip and swing up to the right and then back. So a kind of sideways figure of 8, or you could think of it as being like the infinity sign that we find in maths and physics, if that's a better image for you. The whole body helping to create the shape. One more time going forwards. And then so have your other foot forwards. And same thing on the other side. Make sure of your stance. Do a few rounds of the straight forwards, fisherman cast the net. Begin to turn. Noticing again the way the fingertips curve down and up so that you can just gently extend that into the circular movement. Don't let your arms overextend or go too high. And then, if this is comfortable again, I'm going to turn my front foot out and go forwards or backwards as your hands come up. The empty foot without the weight comes in and you take a step. Same thing here, almost as though your hands pull your foot in. What you might find, and you don't have to do this, not only do they pull the foot in, but they lift it up. Sometimes. And then I'm going to change direction, or I'll flash into the camera. And this time, if you haven't done so already, just bring your feet. Find your chair again. As I said at the beginning, all of these qualities are aspirations, and everybody finds that they come and go. You know, the calmness, the routine, the good posture, the flowing movements can vary from almost from moment to moment. So it would be nice if we could stay like that the whole time, but this is not going to work like that. What we find in Tai Chi, and this last movement really illustrates that, is that when we do feel sort of like stiff and tight, when we do feel agitated or something like that, we have a way back. This is called embrace tiger, return to mountain. So Hands by your sides, just pushing your arms out, a bit like the wild goose, bringing them around as though you're going to hold forward against your chest. Drawing in, aware of the pull of gravity through your body, drawing your hands down, drawing your attention down to your center, to your hips, to your feet, and then start the whole cycle over again. One last time. And your hands come to rest. Trying to just maintain that gentle focus of attention in your posture, whatever aspect of it is most useful to you to sort of anchor your attention. Maybe your breathing, maybe your weight in your hips. And then just open your eyes. Thank you very much, everybody, as always.